criminals, Alfred. We've always been criminals. Nothing's changed.
Oh, yes it has, sir. Everything's changed.
Vigilantes, thank you for watching. I'm your host, Old Magnus Batman, and I have a few guests along with me. Superfan K, Classicnerdy Nostalgia, and Living Laser. There are movie reviewers as well. And we're going to talk about what's going on in the superhero world and things in that nature. And this is our first official podcast together, and we're going to have more podcasts in the future. So let's begin. All right, guys. So we're going to be talking about Batman v Superman. It's actually been 1 full year, 1 year since Batman v Superman came out.
Wow, unbelievable! Yeah. One year ago.
1 year, and to this day, I'm still defending that movie.
Same here. I'm doing the same.
Yeah.
Well, to this day, people are still talking about it, so I'd say that's a good thing instead of a bad thing.
Yeah, it is.
Seriously, when's the last time anybody went to bat for Ant-Man? Go ahead.
No one's ever. I haven't seen really anyone talk about Ant-Man like that.
Ant-Man's garbage compared to Batman versus Superman. I'll just shut it down right now.
Yeah.
It's trash. I'm saying it is.
I feel you on that. I didn't care too much for Ant-Man. It was an all right movie. It was all right.
Marvel movie, in my opinion.
But if it was like truly memorable, like Batman v Superman, I don't really care what you think about it. The fact that people today are still talking about it and still discussing it, debating it, still defending it. No other, I mean, Ant-Man movies like that, they don't really have that kind of resonance. They're kind of just fun, disposable popcorn flicks.
Right.
And what do you do after you eat popcorn? You kind of move on to the bigger meal and you forget all about the popcorn.
Yes.
It's not like you're sitting there hours later going, that popcorn was good. No,
exactly.
It's popcorn.
Yeah.
You just fucking pop it in your mouth and it's over.
And like the movie critics now, when the movie first came out, it was very big when it came out. It was the biggest movie release since the first Batman movie from '89. And when it came out, it got critical. It was received negatively by critics. That was something I never understood. This movie was making money worldwide. Was making money worldwide and just completely got trashed by critics. I don't get it. I never understood that. I still don't get it even now.
I'm actually going to say something controversial here. So I agree with the basic premise that Batman and Superman should have made $1 billion. Like, there's just no getting around it. When you have two of the most iconic heroes in the history of the world, it should have made $1 billion. And I will grant that to anybody who says, well, that was a disappointment. Having said that, I think the fact that it was able to make as much money as it did, despite the negativity and the bad publicity and the criticism and all of that stuff, despite all of that, it still made almost $900 million. I would actually say that it's $873 million at the end of the day is a hell of an accomplishment, considering all the stuff that this movie had to go through to get made. Where even months before, you had these anonymous reports coming out talking about, oh, it's a mess, or oh, Warner Brothers is worried, all this other stuff. And then the critics came out and they bash it. And unfortunately, for a lot of things nowadays, critical receptions, it sometimes can shape how people view it. Now, hardcore fans, they'll go see it regardless, right? But the casual fans, sometimes they rely on critic reviews to like push them in the right direction. So I would actually say $873 million is a hell of an accomplishment considering all the negativity this movie had to overcome.
Right. I mean, like Batman versus Superman had a lot going for it when it came out. When I went to go see it, I was like, wow. I was blown away by the story and everything. Even the Martha scene had me like on the edge of my seat just looking at that scene, the Martha scene. A lot of people still don't even get that scene.
Hey. Why did you say that name?
Why did you say that name?
Exactly. When I talk to other people, I mean, that scene alone is I don't know.
So debatable.
It's so debatable. It ticks me off till this day because they say the only reason why Superman and Batman became friends because their mom has the same name. That adds fuel to the fire, and I don't
I
and
feel like people turn their brains off when that scene happened. It's like people looked at that scene and they're kind of like, yeah.
They just seem to not have got that scene at all. They just didn't get it at all. Like, we the only ones that, like, only people that really actually took that movie serious actually got an understanding of it. The others just didn't.
I think what they tried to do with this movie, I think what people were expecting it to be like a huge nonstop action flick, but more instead of having it being an action flick, it was more of a personal story between two characters, the conflict of the characters, and stuff like that. And I think that's what took away from the regular casual fans of the character, saying it was too dark, saying it was too serious. They couldn't really get into the concepts that Zack Snyder was trying to add in the film, and so, but really, I think Batman v Superman was not much of an action flick, but more of a personal story with great visuals and stuff like that. So I could understand why they don't like it as much as we do because of the story and some of the story elements that Zack Snyder added to the film kind of went over a lot of people's heads.
Nothing goes over my head. My reflexes are too fast. I would catch it.
Therefore, since they don't want to use their brains and they don't want to think hard, they just turn off their brains and saying it's a bad movie.
They expect to be spoon fed and stuff like that. You know, and I mean, they just expect, and that's another thing. They also, some people expect it to be like like Marvel's movies and stuff like that because they have lighter content to their movies and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And you can't have it that way. Like, these people gotta remember, both companies are different from each other. One is light, one is dark.
Mm-hmm.
I would actually say that also kind of falls into marketing too, because the trailers for Batman v Superman, they did market it as this big action-packed epic between these two titans. You know, they called it the greatest gladiator match in a fight. So when people go into the movie, they're just expecting a straightforward Batman is against Superman type of fight, and they don't really think that anything else matters. What the actual movie was it was a thinking man's comic book film that tried to deconstruct the characters. Like, it took Batman and Superman off of those high-ass pedestals that we've always placed them on, and it knocked them down into the dirt, and it turned them into, like, the worst versions. Not necessarily Superman, but, like, he put the characters at their lowest point so that he could build them back up. That's called deconstruction. And a lot of people didn't really understand that because they were just expecting an action movie. And instead, this was much more of a mature thing. But I feel like that's where people messed up, because marketing is just one aspect to a film. Like, you can market something, you can have a trailer, but the trailer might not even be what the actual movie is. Now, I'll give you an example. There was a movie that came out a few years ago. It was called The Gift. It was directed by Joel Edgerton. If anybody has seen that movie, if you remember the trailers, I saw that trailer, I was like, man, that looks bad. It looked like a cliched home invasion movie where this crazy guy shows up and then he's just a crazy guy and he just terrorizes this couple in their home or something like that. That's the way the trailer looked. When I went into the film, what I actually found out what it was, it blew me away because I just wasn't expecting the movie to be like that. Now, I could have been a dick and been like, well, the movie wasn't a cliched home invasion movie, so it loses points for that. But instead, you kind of have to just judge the film for what it's trying to accomplish on its own merits, instead of judging what you expected the movie to be based off the trailer. And that is where there's a big disconnect between general audiences and Batman v Superman, because general audiences expected this to be filled with action, whereas really not much of a preference on plot or character or anything like that. And instead, what they got was a movie that put Superman and Batman in places that we have never seen them before. We've never seen Batman this dark, this far gone, this mentally broken. We have never seen Superman have to deal with all of the consequences of his actions the way that they did in this movie. And that made people uncomfortable because change makes people uncomfortable.
I don't like change!
That's the biggest. I understand why for this movie they chose to go that route because Batman's entire arc is about redemption. His entire storyline is about becoming the Batman that you remember, the Batman that he used to be. I talked to my brother just the other day, and he was like, well, I just don't think that Batman should have killed. I don't think Batman should have just killed because of Jason dying. And that's another thing. People also didn't pay attention to the movie because they assumed that Batman killing was all about
clearly
Jason.
It was clearly in their face. He was looking at the suit of Robin, says, "Ha ha, joke's on you, Batman." That should clearly be the indication that why he's gone down a dark path. No, it's not the only reason, but that scene right there should give people a reason why he's going down this path. There's multiple reasons throughout the movie, but yet visually it was shown to you, spoon fed to fans, but yet still they don't like Ben Affleck's Batman.
When Superman came out of nowhere and he lost those people in that Wayne Tower, he realized that...
And that little girl losing her mother in the destruction?
Yeah, absolutely. And because he felt so powerless, he had to try to strike back against that. And the only way he knew how was he was just kind of like, okay, I just have to not care anymore because if I care, people are going to die like this. I have to go where I didn't go before.
I really liked how they did Doomsday.
Oh yeah, I like how they did Doomsday too.
You know what's kind of funny? I noticed that how they did Doomsday and Killer Croc and Suicide Squad. I noticed it's kind of similar.
You talking about like their look or the way the makeup looks or anything like that?
Both.
Oh wow. Well, we obviously know the makeup in Suicide Squad is Oscar-winning material. But,
yeah.
When it comes to Doomsday, I'm kind of like, okay, he's like the one thing about the movie that I'm just kind of like, on, even though there are some truly epic moments in that final battle.
Oh,
but
yeah.
Doomsday itself, really the only thing I didn't like and I still don't like about Doomsday is his look. Like, as soon as he pops out of the weird Kryptonian...
I agree on that. I agree on that. It's like, I really wish they could have made him look the way he did in the Death of Superman comic. The way he looked in the comics.
I would have had the battle be longer so that, I mean, you saw him changing throughout the battle and getting more spikes and more bones coming out of his skin. I really thought that he should have been more battle damaged and the fight should have gone on longer so that he would look closer to that version. Because when he first came out, I was kind of like, well, they don't need Superman for this. Where's Legolas? Where's Aragorn? They can just, shoot arrows at his head. He looked like a cave troll. And I understand that in the earlier versions of Doomsday in the comics, when he was just this creature baby that was born and killed over and over and over again by that scientist, I understand that this Doomsday looks a lot like that Doomsday.
Also, I like how they introduced Wonder Woman.
Oh
my God.
People say she's a bit shoehorned, maybe, but I don't really care. It's Wonder Woman.
I don't know why. Here's the thing. I don't know why critics are already hitting on Wonder Woman because of her armpits.
That's so fucking stupid. I couldn't believe that article. I looked at the article and I was just kind of like, wait, is this a joke? Am I being punked? What is going on? And I saw the article. They're bitching about her armpits. I'm like, seriously, people, who has ever, in the history of ever, cared about this? Seriously? For fucking armpits.
You know how everything is nowadays. People get offended by anything.
But her fucking armpits? I mean, come on. Hold on. Did Linda Carter have did she have Chewbacca living under her arms back in the day? I mean, come on. People are being ridiculous about this. I'm sorry. I don't remember Linda Carter having, a bushweed forest or something like that underneath her arms. What about the animated Wonder Woman movies and shows that we've gotten? Has anybody ever looked at her and said, oh my God, she needs more hair under her armpits?
Nobody's ever looked at her. that's kind of the most dumbest thing I've ever seen. Like, just something tells me when Wonder Woman hits theaters this summer, I got this bad feeling that critics are gonna do what they did to Batman vs Superman. Just I have that bad feeling.
Yeah, they might. I don't know. I kind of feel like it'll be a little bit more better received than Batman v Superman. But
now, Ben Affleck as Batman, I have to say he's probably the best comic book accurate Batman we have got.
I believe so. I mean, I did a video breaking down Christian Bale and Ben Affleck, and really, throat cancer.
Where are they?
But really, Ben Affleck Batman is pretty much perfect. Is basically the comic book Batman I wanted. Yes, Christian Bale Batman is more relatable and more realistic, but me as a Batman fan, I want a comic book Batman where he does flips and it's not flat-footed and throughout three movies, because
where's the trigger? I'm supposed to be the greatest detective, but I can't figure out where the trigger is. Where's the trigger?
Exactly. So really, yeah, I just think that Ben Affleck is perfect for Batman.
And another thing,
I think
that warehouse fight scene, that was badass. That scene was whoa.
That was the best
warehouse fight scene.
No.
Yeah, best choreographed, hands down the best fighting scene of all the Christian Bale fight scenes put together.
Here's the thing with Batman v Superman, I have a rebuttal for almost everything that somebody has a problem with. Like if you come to me and say you hate Batman v Superman, and I ask you why, almost everything that you say, I can find some way to rebuttal or rebuke what you're saying, unless it's like a subjective thing, like, oh, well, I don't like the way Doomsday looks. I'm like, hey, you know what? I agree with you. Or unless you're talking about, oh, well, I just don't like the idea of Batman killing. I understand why they did it in the movie, but I don't like it. I'd be like, okay, well, that's a subjective thing. I see what you're saying. But outside of that, I can rebuttal everything that they say about it.
Okay, what happens? What happens if they say I don't like Ben Affleck? Because some people are telling me that the reason why they don't like Batman v Superman because of Ben Affleck.
Well, that was part of the reason why it was such a huge casting choice, because Ben Affleck is a very polarizing actor. He has a lot of fans. He has a lot of haters. People have not liked Ben Affleck for years.
J-Lo.
And so I feel like I feel like that's another
because he keep repeating, looking back at Daredevil and stuff, like people gotta move on from that. That was in 2003.
You know, one of the villains is related to Darkseid in Justice League, right?
Steppenwolf.
Yes, Steppenwolf.
Yes, Steppenwolf is Darkseid's uncle and his lieutenant in his
So they're probably going to bring Darkseid for the sequel.
Yeah, they are. Darkseid will be in
most
the sequel,
likely.
Part 2.
I think we're going to see Darkseid in this movie in a cameo. I think we're going to see a brief appearance of Darkseid. There's a lot of rumors about that. I'm pretty sure that they may or may not show Steppenwolf in the trailer. But
have they released a trailer yet?
No, I heard it's going to come out sometime in April.
Let's talk about Lex Luthor. I can't remember his name. The guy that played Lex Luthor in Batman vs Superman. I forgot his name.
Jesse Eisenberg. Yeah.
Jesse Eisenberg. I felt like he was too much being like Jim Carrey's Riddler in that movie.
I could definitely see that.
I see that. Yeah.
I see that a little bit. I don't think he's necessarily like the Riddler in terms of exact mannerisms. I think that he was a mixed bag, because I think that as a villain, I think he was great. Honestly, I think he was the most complex Luthor that I've ever seen on the big screen, and his Luthor had motivations that were so layered and so.
Well, that's what by watching the extended cut, his plots had more layers to it in the extended cut, but not in the original cut.
There were so many manipulations and stuff that he pulled off, and you realize that literally everything in this movie was orchestrated by Luthor. And he was smart, the way that Luthor is supposed to be, evil, like the way Luthor is supposed to be, and basically the smartest guy in the room, who used knowledge as his power, which I like that. People complain because they're like, oh, well, Batman shouldn't be tricked by Luthor or something like that. How is he so easily manipulated by Luthor? I'm like, Luthor is smarter than Batman. Does anybody not realize that? Oh, I'm sorry. Batman is never fooled? Really? Did you watch the Dark Knight trilogy? How did he let Talia fool him? How did he let Bane get the jump on him? How come he couldn't catch Joker until the very end of the movie with some help from Fox? Let's stop acting like, oh, well, Batman can never be fooled. He can never have the wool pulled over his eyes. Really? Because he wasn't sure that he didn't know that Ra's was alive until Ra's showed back up at the end of Batman Begins.
You're not Ra's al Ghul. I watched him die.
Right. But all of a sudden, Luthor is looked at as, oh, well, he can't be smarter than Batman. He's always been smarter. Look, Luthor
He has a 12th level
tradition.
intellect. Let me ask you something, guys. If Wonder Woman is successful, do you think this Wonder Woman movie may pave the way for more comic book films of females?
I think
Honestly,
so. I think so.
I think it'll have a trickle-down
who
effect.
could you go? But here's the thing: who could you? You mean after Captain Marvel? Then who do you go with for like DC and Marvel for female superheroes?
Zatanna. I want Zatanna.
Get Zatanna. her
Hawk
own
Girl.
movie.
I want Hawk Girl.
Like, there's some
Who?
Hawk Girl.
characters. They got a lot of female characters. They
You
can
remember the hot chick from Justice League who had the mace who went,
Yeah.
All the her.
Yeah. All right, guys, that's our conversation on the superhero world revolving around the Batman v Superman 1-year anniversary. It's been a great conversation. I'm your host, Magnus Batman, along with Superfan K, Classicnerdy Nostalgia, and Living Laser. Please subscribe to their channels. Their link is in below. We'll have some Batman-tastic reviews on the way. You have been warned. Till then, ciao.